This is just something for some friends. These are some research and development ideas I've been playing around with over Christmas. So what have we got? We've got, I'll show you the end of this. We've got the normal end here. I'm just powering this from a phone power bank, one of these just for the moment. And I've got a speaker plugged in to the headphone socket or the line out. You can see I've got a tuner here, an extra tuner, and you can see that the lid is screwed on. It's not held on with magnets, and there's a clue in there. So if I just take this off, all will be revealed. If I come up close, right, I don't know if you can see that, but each key, if you look at this one, see when I press the key, if you watch, as I press this key, this little magnet embedded in here runs under this thing that looks like a transistor. Hang on, that one there, you see? More, it just goes under the tip of it. And you can also see that the tangent hits this dummy string. So on the lower row of keys have taller tangents, so they also hit the dummy string, you see. So you've got the short ones and the long ones. And these act as switches, so when a magnet passes under them, they connect to ground. They pull the pin of the microcontroller to ground, so it has the same effect as the microswitches. Now, I've used one of the existing circuit boards here, which means the soldering's super fiddly here, but if this works, I'll get a revision made to the circuit board so that these sensors just solder in, and these magnets will actually be further up here. But for now, this is just a test rig. So does it work? Well, let's have a look. Let's have a go. Load a preset. Turn this on. So you can hear I've improved the buzz a little bit. So really should play this at an angle now, because we are using gravity, not the springs of the switches to push the keys back, but it does actually work on the flat. So if I put it on automatic, so see, you can play pretty fast. It doesn't seem to get, we don't seem to get interference, so it seems to work. I did attempt this in the past. I had the hall sensors on the front facing that way, and I had magnets in the keys, the backs of the keys, and as it approached, it would sort of switch on. It seems to be a lot better this way, where the magnets pass from the side underneath the sensor, which is facing downwards. It just seems to be more effective. So changes, I may use a thicker string here. I'm just using badminton string at the moment, but something with a little bit more meat to it might be better. But all in all, I'm pretty pleased with this. So I'm going to go ahead and redesign the circuit board so these sensors fit in more easily. For each sensor there has to be an extra power supply, and there has to be a small capacitor wired across it, so that will move on to the circuit board and just make this all a bit less kind of a one-off. This is just a one-off. Another thing I found that was interesting was I can't use a magnet on this end to hold the lid on unless I move the magnet further away. It's because it's interfering with this sensor, this hall sensor. So I've actually just gone back to small cap head screws holding the lid on, because really you shouldn't need to take the lid off. The idea is the whole thing is solid state. The only thing that you might now have to do is every now and then maybe change the string, but that's about it. So you see we've got an extra guitar tuner there in a 3D printed housing. Otherwise you use it the same way as you did before. So that's my Christmas research and development. The other thing I'm thinking of doing is on these audio boards, you can turn the audio files on and off that are on the memory card that goes in there, which is what I'm doing. The computer is turning them on and off. In addition to that, you've got some hardwired connectors here. For people who say putting this into an art project or something, and you don't want to connect a computer to it, you can actually connect buttons or switches to these pairs of contacts, and they will turn on up to, I think it's 16 audio files. So if I had a multi-pin plug or something like that, you could have a thing like a stomp box. So you could have a multi-selector. You would like mechanically select, like a multi-position rotary switch. You can get them with certainly 8 contacts. So you choose 1 to 8, say drum sound, and then when you hit the pedal, you just stomp it, you get the drum sound or whatever it is you want, the sample. That might be something for the future. So I'm thinking of removing the MIDI in socket here and the circuitry that went with that, because that actually takes me time to solder up, and replacing it with a simpler plug and a multi-position rotary switch, and then we can add in some percussion audio, or you could have backing tracks. I mean, you could select between say have 8 backing tracks or like a metronome type of thing. It would be up to you. So that's just a thought for the future. But the immediate issue for the next version is to get rid of the microswitches, because what I'm finding is there are 1 or 2 very heavy users who've managed to break a microswitch, and obviously it has to be returned to me, and it's not that easy to desolder and put a new one in. It's a pretty fiddly. This way the whole thing's solid state. The only thing that moves are the keys. If you did snap a key, you can just post you a new one, and you can fit it yourself. The other key to this was using these really small rod magnets. Where are we? Rod magnets. Don't know if you can see those. Out of focus. They're 3mm long and 2mm in diameter, and that way each magnet doesn't interfere with the one next to it, even at this end of the key box where everything's packed in a bit tight. And because they're also at different levels above each other rather than side by side, only those 2 are next to each other there. So they could interfere with each other, but they don't, because they're such small magnets and they're so close to the sensors. So I think I've kind of solved most of the problems that I had in the past when I was experimenting with hall switches. I also tried microscopic reed switches in the past, which in theory should have worked but didn't work that well. But this seems pretty good. And it's the same software. I'm using the same software as I had before. There's no software changes at all.